Hello everyone, I'm day weather meteorologist Don Day with your Public Lands Council weekly weather update. It's being brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors and WSR Insurance Services Incorporated. Do we have anything new to report? Is there any major shift in the current weather pattern across the western United States? The answer is no. We're basically just seeing weather patterns repeat. So it's the same story. And that story is more rain coming and more snow for California, more snow into the interior western Rockies. And as we've seen lately, the bulk of the precipitation in the mountains and west of the divide to the west coast and into the Pacific Northwest. It'll be that way again, but we'll also see a little bit of moisture spill over the divide and on into the plains. And it's going to remain cold. This colder than average temperature pattern, which we've had for March in the northern plains, the Rockies and the far west, will continue right on into early April. This is going to go down as one of the coldest months in a long time in the northern plains and the western U.S. Going to have to dust off the record books to see how cold this March is relative to average, but it's been a cold one for the central and western United States while warm for the southeastern United States. So it's more of the same as we go into the next week to 10 days. Over the last week, you can see the heavy rain in California, the heavy snows in this areas, and big snows in Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and in the mountains of Utah and Wyoming. These snowpack areas continue to grow and get bigger. There was a little bit of needed moisture getting east of the divide here, but you can see that we still have this hole right here in eastern Colorado and western Kansas into the panhandles. Boy, we really need precipitation here. And I see some coming over the next week, but for this past week, they were again left out. And this is what the snowfall over the last 2 weeks has looked like. Very impressive in the mountains, then across the northern plains to the northeast. Snowpacks continue to just be absolutely amazing. Snowpack levels, even down into southeast New Mexico now, have gone above average. And we're looking at all these blues and greens. Where you get green, you're near or above normal. Light blue, you're pretty good above normal. Blue, you're way above normal. And look at all the blue that's on this map. And we continue to see these snowpack figures likely to grow. And you can see in the latest drought monitor, those big snowpack numbers translating to drought conditions getting much better in this area. But we're still looking at this area is really hurting still. And a lot of this is because moisture coming over the divide is having a hard time getting over the divide. So along and west of the divide here, we continue to see heavy precipitation and the drought continuing to show improvement. But the Chinooking effect, or the downsloping winds coming off the Rockies, causing this dry patch here to be east of the mountains. We do think as spring progresses, this area will have more opportunities for needed precipitation. And I think over the next week, we may see that. One reason, we've got this next low coming into the Great Basin and the northern Rockies. Could be very snowy in southern Montana, northern Wyoming, parts of Idaho, more snow into the mountains of Utah and Colorado. And then next week, some of that will translate into the northern plains. This is a very cold looking pattern. By Sunday, we see this low sagging southward, bringing that heavier snow to southern Montana and northern Wyoming, and maybe stretching into western areas of South Dakota. Very cold for this time of year and wet for the Pacific Northwest. And by Thursday of next week, we've got another storm battering California, bringing rain and snow. We will see snow spread out across the northern plains and into the northern Rockies by the middle to the end of next week. And this will continue to keep us cold. We talked about how cold it's been this month of March. This is the temperature deviation from the average temperature over the last 30 years. And when you are getting into these green areas, you're talking 10 to 15 degrees or more below your average temperature. This is really cold based on averages. Now, March is the month it starts to get warmer, but boy, that hasn't been the case from the northern plains through the Rockies to the west coast. Only the southeastern and far eastern areas of the United States here have seen anything remotely warm this start of the spring season. Over the next 7 days, next 10 days or so, we've got more precipitation coming. You can see more precipitation in the Rockies in the west. We may see another snow event here mid to late next week in the northern plains. We're still having trouble south of I-70 getting wet, but we may see parts of Kansas, eastern Colorado, eastern Wyoming, and Nebraska get some needed precipitation. And a lot of that, believe it or not, will come in the form of frozen precipitation as this cold late March continues, and boy, our next update, well, we'll be talking to you on April 1st, no fooling. Have a good weekend ahead and stay warm.